Oh, good, it's actually on. One of these times I'll stop being surprised by this. So I'm going to give this a second for people to join, and then kind of get started on what we're doing here. I'm actually glad I remembered to mute the mic before I got fucking tangled in my own cords because I'm coordinated. So, just came back in with the dog. It's 35 below again tonight, so none of us want to stay outside. And oddly enough, this weekend I managed to realize I'm not as in shape as I thought. I'm not in terrible shape. I got a high energy working dog, but I decided I wanted to jog, right? So basically, today it feels like both of my calves got the shit beat out of them uh, by somebody wielding huge meat tenderizers as boots. Yeah, it's minus 35, and that's semi with the wind chill. Without the wind chill, it's like minus 20 tonight. So yeah, it fucking sucks. It's cold as hell, and I like cold weather, but this is it's normal for this time of year, but I still don't like it. It's too cold to be outside, and the puppy just looks sad. He wants to be out and run in the snow, but he also gets obviously a little cold. Um, so yeah, on the subject of injuries here, if you missed the Outcast Owls stream last night, they actually let me on, and Lucas didn't freak. 20 degrees here is like maybe I'll wear a long sleeve jacket outside, but typically I might just wear fucking shorts. But the 20 degrees is not cold to me. So anyway, Lucas, if you're not familiar, actually, if you missed the Outcast Owls, then you should go watch that later. It's a couple hours long, and they let me come in around the hour 57 mark. And this was the first thing I kind of wanted to sort of confront Lucas about because back in 2021, in I think it was July, or I think it was July of what 2020, July 20. I'm looking at the date on the screen and I forget the fucking date. God damn it. Anyway, in July 2020, so the night before, on the 24th, he had made some claims that he was attacked. And the way he described it at the time was by some quote unquote fat Albert looking motherfucker and a bunch of black guys and then some white guy with a metal, which changed from steel to aluminum depending on when he was telling the story, baseball bat, which they hit him in the head with, and that's important, with a 2x4, which they hit him in the face with, like in his lip. That he got punched in the face. Oh shit, I should have unblocked him so he could come in the chat if he wanted to, but I really don't feel like doing that now because he's just going to scream about I'm lying, and it's more fun to know that he's getting mad and can't say anything. Um, the hell was I talking about? Oh yeah, he claimed he got hit in the face with a 2x4 and the head with a metal baseball bat, and that he just generally got jumped and beat up. So this was literally less than 24 hours later that he was making this report to Spokane PD. Um, so that's important to keep in mind. And this is body cam footage. Somebody made a, what the heck was his name? Oh, I have it closed. There was somebody who made basically a public records request for the body cam footage, which you can do in most cases. SAHCT is the YouTube channel. They have like 2 subscribers, and I think this is their only video. But they made a public records request to get the body cam footage and then posted it. Lucas either forgot this existed or he wasn't aware that it existed because he was completely blindsided on that live. And you could tell he was really angry. So yeah, he's a cab until he thinks the police can help him, and then he will turn into a bootlicker. Um, but he claimed he got jumped outside of a bar called like Jimmy's Red Room Lounge or something because for no reason. He claimed it was no reason. And then he sort of half admitted to people came over to confront him because he was like screaming about bigots from across the street or some nonsense. But basically, what I'm piecing together kind of happened after last night was that Lucas was running his mouth. A bunch of people came over and probably threatened him, right? But then he left because he's a huge pussy. So he left. But the narrative he was spinning about this attack, this brutal attack where he had to go to the hospital and file the police report and all this other garbage, was because for several months after that, the theme of his meme, I don't even like saying memes because they're not real memes, but the theme of the memes that he posts had been, Gen Z, date me, I've bled for you, I've been beaten for you. That was his narrative for several months. And he would always reference this attack. But he could never provide proof. And until this public records request was made and this came out, everyone kind of knew he was lying because the story changed somewhat every time he told it. But everyone just, figured he was lying. But then this got posted. And in several parts of this, because he's describing an assault, and a very, it's not even detailed the way he's describing it, but he's describing a very clear assault to the officer. And the officer is doing his job and basically trying to, take notes, look at his injuries to document everything. And Lucas can't show him any visible injuries because the attack never happened. He didn't think he would ever be asked to show proof by someone he would have to show proof to. And he did not know that this footage existed or that anyone could get a hold of it. So he was completely blindsided on that live last night and was not happy about it. He was even madder about the text with the 17-year-old, but this is kind of what really started it off, because this is one I've always wanted to confront him about, and it was super fun to actually confront him about it. Anyway, there's not sound in this one for the first couple of minutes, but you can tell just right away looking at his body language, this is not the body language of somebody who's wanting to report an assault. This is the body language of someone just like making shit up and hoping that they believe it. But there's no sound for... I don't know what he's talking about here. I think he's trying to show a scrape on his leg. So he did have a scrape on his leg. But the scrape on his leg happened from his own words and I'd have to find the Instagram things. But yeah, the police, well, he didn't think anything was going to come with it. And he could say he filed a police report then to give it some credence. But he did have a big nasty wound on his leg because he tripped and fell and scraped his shin, basically. And he claimed it was because he was dizzy from the concussion that never happened, and that he was picking up trash and he fell over. But he's trying to show the cop his injuries even in the silent part, and there's just like nothing there. But yeah, there's not actually sound. The sound is probably going to blow my eardrum out because it's a loud beep when the officer's body cam kicks on. But, I mean, you can just look at his body language and you can tell he's making shit up. This is, I understand being nervous when you're talking to cops. I mean, most people get nervous when they're talking to cops. But this is not the body language of someone telling the truth. This is the body language of somebody making up a story. He's got folded arms. He's rolling his eyes and stopping to have to think of what he's going to say. He looks like a petulant child. He's also very crispy because he's been living outside. He was hanging around the plaza basically during the day, staying in the plaza.
Right.
Oh,
it's like, how do I deal with all these people coming at me with baseball bats and shit when I'm not even doing anything wrong? It's like I have to muster up to get all this anger to pitch at them, or they're going to pitch it back at me just for trying to like figure out what the hell they're doing.
Baseball bats, plural.
Right.
So there's nobody I can really report. It just, they keep harassing me.
So yeah, and he said right there, like, there's nobody really to report. They just keep harassing me. So there's people in his... And I don't doubt that he got harassed. If he was sitting across the street from a bar screaming about bigotry and age phobes, I would believe that people came over to tell him to stop screaming across the street, just like shut the fuck up and go somewhere else. But I don't believe for 1 second that he was in any way assaulted, because look at him, great, we're not up close to him, but you can still see if you were hit in the head with a metal bat, you would have some kind of visible bruising or swelling or something to show off, but we don't have any of that.
Well, I'm here to help you right now if you want to. I can file a report for it if you'd like to.
It's worth noting that this cop is like extremely patient and is also talking to him like he's listening to a preschooler tell a story during playtime.
Could I file it against somebody who's not a person though, or what?
can I file a police report against somebody who's not a person? That right there is just something that you know he made up. He has to know that filing a false police report against somebody that they could actually find, like by giving just kind of a vague description, could get him in trouble. So he's not going to do that. But yeah.
You can do. Yeah, I can help you however you want me to.
Yeah, I can work that out, I guess.
Do you want me to write a report for you?
Sure.
Okay. Let's do that. Let's get that going for you. How many guys assaulted you last night?
It was at least 3.
At least 3. He wants to file a police report against someone who's not a person, and there were at least 3 of them who had baseball bats coming at him. This is where we are so far. It's also worth noting that when he first made up this story, he kept calling the main aggressor a fat Albert-looking motherfucker, so an overweight black dude. But when we get to the point where he's describing the perp here, he talks about how he's a Pacific Islander.
At least 3. How many bats did you see?
I saw 1 steel baseball bat.
1 bat. Okay. Okay.
Fat Albert and, yeah, 2 white guys with 2x4s, I guess. Because, you know, people just carry 2x4s around with them all the time. That makes total sense.
Nora 44 flagged over.
And then it was something
for an assault
else.
call, Sprague and Howard, code 4.
Oh, it's also worth noting that I did make a public records request to get the written police report because I just kind of like to see how it matches up to the body cam footage. So if I do actually get that written police report, that'll definitely be posted, and I'll either go over it in a video or on a live, depending on what kind of mood I'm in when I get it.
Yes, from last night. What time last night?
Oh, it was after dark.
Okay, so what?
So after dark in summer would have probably been after 10. And if you're looking at the time here, so this is the next afternoon. So this is less than 24 hours of being hit in the head with a steel baseball bat and in the face, as he said in the stream last night, with a 2x4. What did my lights just turn themselves up?
Time.
Maybe 10 or 11.
Okay.
I just walked up to the wall and
Sprague and Howard?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I said, geez, this is like classism going on.
So he's saying he just walked up to the wall and started saying, oh, geez, there's some classism going on here. But earlier on, he was saying he wasn't doing anything and people just kind of jumped him and he wasn't doing anything at all. Now he's going up there and just kind of, oh, geez, there's so much classism here. And then on the stream, he basically said he was yelling from across the street. So 3 different stories.
A black young guy with a diamond on his head.
Black young guy with a diamond on his head. All right.
Hold on.
And a baseball cap, of course. He had a baseball cap because, of course, he had a baseball cap.
Like way out there, like
How old was he?
Probably early 20s, maybe.
And he was a Zoomer. So this is another thing, too, if you're not familiar with Lucas. The nemesis that Lucas has made for himself in his mind is typically either a black person or a person of color of some sort who's not white. Because the white ones he doesn't really feel are too much of a threat, but it's almost always a black man in his early 20s who wears a baseball cap. And that's a really specific thing that he goes with. Every now and then he drops the black part. But his nemesis for men is always a dude who's around 20, 21 years old. Because that's who he sees as his main competition for women who don't want him anyway. Yeah, and then, yeah, he's got like anywhere from 2 to 12 chicks that he fucks every night. That's this mystical diamond-headed black man here.
22.
yeah, which must
Okay, how tall?
Pretty short. Like,
Okay.
How tall? Pretty short. So Lucas isn't exactly short. I think Lucas has said before he's at least 6 foot tall. I think he said he's 6'3" before. So Lucas isn't exactly short. It doesn't take much to be shorter than Lucas if he's 6'3", but you know.
short foot guy.
Okay.
Cool, awesome.
Kind of-
What are you whining about?
Chunky
Yeah,
built.
said I noticed
Okay.
customer service, there's nobody in
He
there.
was black. He looked like he might have been like Highlander or something like that.
Yeah, so here's where he switches, because if you notice, remember a couple minutes ago, he said it was a black man, very specifically a black man, and now he's changing his story to, oh, I don't know, he might have been an Islander. Okay.
Black and Islander or
I went to
something.
go blow on it,
Okay.
you know.
And then it was like a bunch of them, so I kind of lost control.
And then it was a bunch of them. So there was one very specifically black guy, and then a bunch of them, and he lost track. Yeah, what he's trying to do here is he knows this didn't happen. I mean, first of all, look at his facial expression. But first of all, he knows this didn't happen, and he has to have some like vague concept of being aware that you can actually get in legal trouble for filing a false police report, especially if they arrest somebody based on that false report. That's why he's being as vague as he can be while still making it sound like a person, because he's definitely going to be concerned that if they actually arrest somebody for this and it comes out that it's false, that he's going to be in trouble. Like jail time in trouble. And he doesn't want that. He's been to jail before. It is not a thing that he wants to do again.
Who hit you with the bat?
I'm not sure. That came out of nowhere. I saw the bat, and then it hit my leg, and then I fell.
Okay.
It's also worth noting that in a crowded bar area with security cameras all over downtown and the business, that there were no witnesses to this. Just a little suspicious. Did
the first male you mentioned punch you or something, or?
Somebody did from around the side, and it wasn't him.
Oh.
But, like he hit me on the lip.
So he's claiming he got hit on the lip, and it's kind of hard to see here, but there's nothing there. Like, you should be able to see if he got punched in the face, he would have a split lip or a swollen lip, and he would probably be talking a little funny. But there's no injury there.
A little puffy, but not too bad.
It's a little puffy, but not too bad.
And then something hit me in the head, and I have a kind of a bump in my head.
Okay.
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 And then you got hit in the leg?
That's
Yeah,
fine.
like right.
I was just supposed to just take the 20
Let me get my flashlight out and make sure I didn't see anything there.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you.
It wasn't that, but it was like right here. It's kind of reddish.
It's kind of a pity the cop didn't swivel his body cam to look at the leg, but
It wasn't too hard, but it was.
But yeah, if you got smacked in the head with a steel baseball bat and got punched in the head, and like he was saying last night, also got hit in the face with a 2x4, you would have more than just kind of a bump. You would probably still be in the hospital. You would still be in the hospital for that kind of beating around the head. And you wouldn't be up and walking around and looking to see where's the bump, where's the bruising, where's the blood. There isn't any. And we get close-ups of his nasty head later. So.
It's definitely meant to be passing.
Okay.
And then it was like a bunch of chicks telling me, like he came.
Oh, he left this part out last night. So now we've got the black, possibly Pacific Islander short man with the diamond on his head and a baseball hat, a bunch of other guys that he doesn't know, and now there's a group of chicks involved. Let's keep going. Oh yeah, he would have definitely had a major concussion at minimum. Like at minimum.
Over, and he's like, "You need to leave." I'm like, "I'm not even doing anything. I'm just standing here." He's like, "No, you need to leave. You're a pedophile."
So I believe the part where people came over to him and said, "Hey, you need to leave. Like, get out of here." Because on the stream last night when he was pressed by Ms. Parker, he basically admitted, or as much as he ever admits to doing anything, admitted that he was sitting across the street and like screaming shit across the street, like shit about bigots and age phobes and his usual public rants. So I don't actually doubt that someone or a small group of people came over and told him to leave. That at least makes sense. Yeah, his board games are terrible.
Like, dude, I'm not a pedophile, and he wouldn't listen to me. Then.
And this is a very specific thing to just sort of bring up, and Lucas does this all the time. This is part of where he tries to make this thing out. Is he claims that people recognize him all the time and call him a pedophile. I'm sure some people do. He's pretty notorious around everywhere. But that's typically not a thing that normally happens.
The chick started like it was like a chubby chick with curly hair, blonde hair.
Now we got a fat chick starting in on him.
And like one chick with like red and black hair. It was like the scene kind of.
And a scene girl. So there's a fat blonde girl and a scene chick that have joined the assault group at this point.
Okay.
Bar scene. And they were like, "You need to go." I was like, "Fine, whatever. I don't want to get into a conflict with a bunch of idiots." And then walked off.
So it's like.
So here he's claiming, okay, we're going to back it up because he hasn't been attacked yet in his story, apparently. So he's claiming that these people came over were telling him to leave, and he was just like, "Yeah, whatever, fine, I'm going to go." I think some of that's the Abilify. That's a really wicked bad side effect of Abilify, like his rapid and pretty extreme weight gain. We're going over Lucas's body cam police video where he's talking about the made-up assault.
3 unknown males kind of punched you, and
Yeah,
one of them.
One hit me in the leg, and then one hit me in the head. So,
Okay. All right.
This is also different from the story he told last night. Last night it was in the head with the bat, in the head with the 2x4, punched in the face, and not too much of a mention of his leg. And no mention of the 2 women that were involved.
so I don't know what to do. It's like the attacks are getting much worse. I could just stand there and people start harassing me and attacking me.
Did you know anybody that was there?
No, I didn't recognize anybody that I normally see during the daylight.
Okay.
This cop is just not getting paid enough to deal with this bullshit.
Did you know any witnesses I can talk to?
No witnesses. A crowded bar, a crowded street, security cameras everywhere. No witnesses. None. He was claiming for a while that the bar claimed they had security footage that they would give him and then just never did. A few people from Kiwi Farms reached out to the actual bar and got responses back that were basically, we have no idea what you're talking about. So there is no security footage because it never happened. Yeah, this particular cop is absolutely not getting paid, and if any cop that has to voluntarily or involuntarily deal with Lucas just deserves like time and a half for the time that they're actually dealing with Lucas. He's talking to Lucas like Lucas is a 3-year-old telling a story during playtime.
All right. Anything else you can remember?
That's all I remember. Like, he came up, told me to leave. I said, I don't have to leave. And then the chicks told me to leave. I wasn't harassed. He was like accusing me of like hitting on me. And I wasn't even doing it. Like, I'm not going to hit on a chick. I don't have any money.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So, and it's like a group of people. And I'm certainly not going to say something sexist or something because it's rude.
Okay.
So he was like accusing me of shit that I didn't do. He was saying, oh, those girls are 17. I'm like, they're 21. It's clearly the bar. He just straight up lying to me to like gaslight me or something.
That is not what... I hate the fact that he uses the word gaslighting so much and like doesn't actually know what it is. Yeah, I actually kind of want to go... I can't remember the exact date that one happened, but I kind of want to make a public records request for that one to see if that cop had a body cam on him, because Lucas sounded like a completely submissive bitch in that one, and I would really love to see his body language on that one.
Pissed me off.
Right. How do you spell your last name again?
W-E-R-N-E-R.
Is it Lucas?
Yep.
Middle initial?
C.
Date of birth?
11/27/1979.
Do you have a phone number?
I don't because my phone broke and I have to...
So his phone didn't break. There's a couple of times Lucas's phone has been stolen from him after he got drunk and or stoned with his quote-unquote friend Isaac. One time he claimed he got mad and threw his phone into the woods, but then like just didn't go back and get it. But no, it got stolen. Isaac and his buddies used to fairly frequently get Lucas kind of trashed the day he got paid, and then like steal all his shit. So Lucas didn't break his phone. Lucas either lost it or had it stolen. But that's kind of embarrassing to admit when you're in your 40s.
Message phone number?
Not right now. Maybe House of Charity because I think I might go back there.
Okay. So do you have any visible injuries I can document with the camera or anything?
There you go.
Just kind of a bump in the head right there.
Again, hit in the head with a metal steel, according to this video, a steel bat. Hit in the head with a steel bat, and according to the podcast, which he conveniently left out here, hit in the face with a 2x4. So we're going to see his should be very, very visible head wounds here.
Can I see it? Can you move your hair a little bit so I can look at it?
Look at that gaping wound.
I can't. It's hard to tell with your hair kind of there. Are you able to move?
God, just like I can't see anything.
Find the spot that's a bump, and then
Looks like, yeah, right there.
can you move the hair out of the way so that, or part your hair so I can look at it?
Look at that. So this is what he's claiming I'm gonna fucking screenshot this one. This is what he's claiming is the wound that he got from being hit in the head with a steel baseball bat. This is the wound. This is the proof. So the thing that really got me, and I expected Lucas to lie about this, which is why I was like laughing or trying not to laugh as hard as I was when this was happening on the other live, because I knew he was going to lie about it. Lucas went through a phase where he demanded evidence in all things, like anything you said to him, anything you commented to him, he wanted evidence, he wanted proof. He never provided proof of his own for anything, but that's beside the point. But this right here, this police body cam, this is not something that I could have doctored. He likes to accuse me of doctoring some of the videos I upload sometimes when he doesn't like how he looks in them. He likes to accuse people of making shit up to posting videos that he didn't just get screenshotted from his social media. But this is body cam footage from the Spokane Police Department. This was a public records request. This is not something that anyone has edited. Lucas didn't know this existed. He did not know that cop had a body cam on. And that's partially why he was so the way he was last night. Because he didn't know this existed. He didn't know this footage was a thing. He didn't know that there was very clear video proof that what he said did not happen. And that made him frustrated and angry based on the way he was acting. But there's nothing there. There's nothing there. And even if being hit with the bat didn't break the skin, because that could happen, possibly. But yeah, so we'll go with the benefit of the doubt and then say he was hit with a bat, but it didn't break the skin. There would still be a bruise. And this guy, even for as toasty as he is for being out all summer, being homeless, his scalp is still very pale. There would be very, very obvious black, blue, yellow, green, nasty looking bruises there if he were actually hit in the head. Now, maybe if someone gave him a little love tap and just kind of like gently prodded him like you would try to like move a big dumb cow out of your way or something. But no, his claim was that it was a swing and a hit. And then he also mentioned being hit in the face with 2x4s. There's no bruising. There's no contusions. Bruising and contusions are the same thing. Whatever. No cuts, no scrapes, no injuries. Because it didn't happen. I do believe that people came over and confronted him and told him to leave because he was screaming about bigots and age phobes, and it was just, that's going to kill the vibe of any place, especially outside a bar. And plus, it's creepy. There's some like big, smelly homeless guy across the street from a bar yelling about how young chicks won't fuck him because of age phobia and bigotry. I would absolutely believe that a group of people came over and probably not so kindly told him to fuck off. But they clearly didn't assault him, like in any way. At best, maybe somebody shoved him, but nobody would really want to touch him. But this, and he probably went to the ER. I mean, you can go to the ER for any reason. I could stop this stream right now and just go to the ER and tell them anything, and by law, they would kind of have to check me over. That doesn't mean whatever I told them happened. I could go in with my sore-ass legs from trying to jog, thinking I was still in my 20s, and say, oh, I got jumped and somebody stomped on my legs. That doesn't mean it happened. They might send me home with like muscle relaxers or painkillers or something, but that doesn't mean an assault happened. It just means I'm more out of shape than I thought. And what Lucas was trying to do here and what failed, because all of Lucas's predatory plans fail in the end, because he is thankfully a very inept predator, he was going for sympathy. If he couldn't get like a girl based on his merits or his junk science, he would get a pity fuck. So what he was hoping would happen, and I know this both based on stuff that he posted and stuff that he told one of my accounts that he thinks is a young woman, he was hoping that some empathetic, lovely, sweet, hot Gen Z girl would see his videos, see that he took an attack for the age gap, love, and all that bullshit, and want to take care of him and help him out and just love him and ease his pains. That's what he was doing with this assault story. He never thought for one split second that there would ever be video footage that was clear and from an official source to prove that he was lying. He never thought that would exist. Are you hearing that bell? Oh, that's my parrot. he rings that bell in his sleep too. That's real fun with his big old cage right outside my bedroom door. I've just learned to sleep through that particular bell sound. And the other bells aren't ringing because the puppy's sleeping on the couch right now. But yeah, this is a very screenshotable moment because this is the moment when he was trying to show off the big assault wound. And it was harder to see on the stream last night because there was a bunch of other windows up, and obviously that kills the resolution a bit. But this right here, this is his injury. This is the injury from being hit in the head with a steel baseball bat, which clearly never happened. I mean, none of y'all believed Lucas. Nobody ever really believed Lucas. Lucas believes Lucas, however, and he did not enjoy being confronted with this.
Oh, okay. Right. Oh, right there. Okay, I don't see anything there, but.
Okay, I don't see anything there. If you didn't hear what the cop said, okay, I don't see anything because there's nothing there. That is why you did not see anything. And like Norman, this is actually so funny to me because Lucas, like I said on the stream last night, Lucas likes to claim that I'm like a Republican and a Trump supporter and all that dumb shit. I left the Democratic Socialist USA Party for their splinter party, and not going towards the Communist Party because the Communist Party has bad connotations with the name. You're just never going to get over that, not in the U.S. And even though the DUSA or DSU, whatever, the Democratic Socialist Party has been around longer, has more members, they're not that far off center. I left for a further left-wing group. I have no love for police in general. I don't. And I'm aware that a lot of that I'm able to do because I have pasty-ass Casper white privilege going on, so police don't bother me for the most part. But I have no generalized love for the police force. This cop is being impeccably patient and way more patient than I would ever expect him to be with this big, dumb, lumbering oaf of an idiot here. Lucas didn't do anything. He's reporting a fake assault that he made up. But this cop, whatever they were paying him to deal with Lucas, he was not getting paid enough for the amount of patience, for the amount of just sheer patience and humoring Lucas in a way that Lucas doesn't pick up is this cop being just borderline exasperated with him wasting his time. This is an impeccable cop. Now watch me find out that he did something horrible outside of after I said he's an impeccable cop. But anyway, for the way that this cop is dealing with this situation and dealing with Lucas, he appears to be very well trained and very good at his job, and probably is decent at de-escalating bullshit like this all the time. So this guy is doing his best with somebody who is very clearly lying to him and wasting his time, and he knows Lucas is lying to him and wasting his time.
Yeah, it's not real noticeable.
Is that where you got punched?
Is that where you got punched and he has to stop and think as to what he told the cop as to where he got punched? If you missed it, he told the cop he got punched in the mouth and he took his mask down, but the shadows made it so you couldn't see it. Oh, they probably do. I mean, there's a fairly sizable homeless population here, and some of them are drifters, but a lot of them are homeless because they have mental illness that they can't afford to get treated. And then, you have mental illness that you can't get treated, you can't keep a job, you lose your house, you can't get treatment because you don't have a job, you can't afford health insurance, can't get a job because you don't have a permanent address. So it's a really nasty cycle that mentally ill people do get stuck in. And then when you factor in the fact that a lot of them also turn to addiction to try to self-medicate, that doesn't help things. Lucas is somewhere between 6 foot and 6'3". I don't actually remember how tall he is off the top of my head, but he's at least 6 foot. So he's not exactly a short guy. But yeah, it's really, and it can be tricky too. I mean, Lucas is being calm here because Lucas actually does get very, very calm around police. There's other audio of him dealing with being confronted by police, and he is very calm. He turns very calm, very respectful, like yes sir, no sir level respectful when the police get involved. So Lucas knows better than to lose his shit in front of cops for the most part. They're 6'1", so he knows better than to lose his shit in front of cops, and that's partially him just acting, and that's partially just common sense that most people have if they're sober. That you really don't want to go toe to toe with a cop that's confronting you because you're probably not going to win. But this cop is so patient with dealing with it. And he was only this is only like a 9.5 minute video. And they were talking before the body cam footage started, but I don't know for how long. My guess is as soon as Lucas said he wanted to file a report, that's when the body cam turned on. But yeah, let's listen to him. So this was the part where he stopped because he couldn't remember where he told the cop he got punched, because the cop came back to you, said you were punched in the face, or you were punched. Lucas had told him it was his mouth, and he pulled his mask down to show him, but that was at a distance, and there was worse lighting, so you can't really see anything because there's too many shadows.
I punched in the lip.
Okay.
And I don't know if you can see that.
Okay, so he got punched in the lip. So he should have a split lip. So this is where he's pointing, right here, where my little mouse cursor is moving. I feel like I'm doing a session with an old lady trying to tell her how to click on the Chrome icon. But he's claiming he got punched in the... Okay, I have both been hit in the face before, and I have had like exuberant big dogs jump up and hit me in the face with their face before. Lips split open extremely easily. You don't have to hit somebody very hard to split their lip. And now he's claiming punching here to the cop, but last night he was saying he was hit with a 2x4 in the face. So punch or 2x4, your lip's going to be split. You're going to have bruising because it's going to hit. It's soft. It's very soft tissue. Duh. All you have mouths and lips, I'm assuming. And it's going to get smacked into your teeth, and it swells like fucking crazy. Like, you can accidentally bite your lip and have it swell up and make it look like you got clocked in the face. So again, he's showing there's no swelling, there's no bruising, there's no injuries, there's nothing. There's just no... I split lips are the worst. I hate split lips. And that's not just because my job requires that I talk most of the day.
Probably nothing much.
No.
But,
Okay.
then I got
But you can see he put that away really quick when the cop kind of had I don't really see anything there either kind of reaction.
hit in the head, and then I got whacked with the baseball bat.
Okay.
So now he's claiming he's changing his story again. He says he got hit in the head, so I'm assuming he means punched in the face, and then got hit with the baseball bat.
As I'm leaving.
As he was walking away. So with his back turned as he was leaving, somebody hit him in the leg, for which he had no visible injuries, punched him in the face. So somebody got in front of him, punched him in the face, for which he has no visible injuries, or hit him in the face with a 2x4, depending on whether you believe the version he's telling the cop or the version he was telling the stream last night. And then after somebody punched him in the face, and he's actually down on the ground at this point because they hit his legs first, right? So they hit his legs. He's somehow still walking even after being hit in the legs with a baseball bat. Or kicked or something, hit in the legs. Then somebody got in front of him while he was down, punched him in the mouth, or hit him with a 2x4 in the mouth. And he's still down, and then the fat Albert diamond-headed black dude came in and hit him in the back of the head with a baseball bat. And for all three things, there are no visible injuries. No visible injuries.
Like, these kids, like the young adult crowd, just harassing me.
Yep.
And I didn't do anything to them.
They didn't do anything. And he's back to the I didn't do anything. And then earlier he had told the cop that first he was across the street, then he was near the bar, and he was talking about, he claims he was talking casually about age phobia or classism or something. Classism, it was what he said to the cop. But then on the stream last night, he was talking about how he was sitting across the street and he was basically yelling about age phobia and bigotry. So again, he's lying to a cop. And he knows that, and he's not... I refuse to believe he's so stupid to not know that filing a false police report can get you in legal trouble. In this case, they obviously just ignored it because they knew something didn't happen. So they just let it go. But if he had been more specific with who he was describing, and again, that's why he's vague about it, because he doesn't want them to accidentally arrest somebody over it. Yeah. No witnesses at a crowded bar with security cameras. No, nobody saw it.
Which hospital did you go to?
I went to Deaconess.
And he probably did go to Deaconess. He goes to Deaconess all the time. That's where he goes when he has his little suicide threats and wants a bed. And typically, if you notice with Lucas and his suicide threat, and he calls them suicide threats, not attempts. Well, the weather's bad. He doesn't usually go in the summer. Sometimes he goes in the summer. But typically, if the weather is like super bad to where it's difficult for him to live outside and he can't get in a shelter, usually in the winter, He just suddenly randomly becomes suicidal until the weather gets better, and then he's suddenly fine again. So.
What'd they say?
They said talk to a police officer or to call crime.
Okay, so here's another thing that's... Why do I keep moving the mouse around? Anyway, circling Lucas like y'all can't see him on the screen. So, he went to Deaconess, to the ER, for these injuries that don't exist. Now, if this had been a real assault and those injuries had existed, the ER staff would have not just said, go to the police. They would have said, yes, probably involve the police, but their concern would have been making sure that he didn't have a concussion, that his skull wasn't cracked, to check his teeth and make sure he didn't have any like broken or missing teeth, to make sure, probably do a CT scan of some sort to make sure, or an MRI to make sure that his brain was not swelling, and to get him physically stabilized. And he probably, for an attack as bad as he has been describing, or he described last night, he probably would have been admitted. But the fact that he went to Deaconess, to the ER, and their response was to tell him to go file a police report, that's, again, how you know that he was just faking. And there's probably a report at Deaconess, because, anytime someone comes into the ER and gets themselves checked in, it goes on their medical record. So he can technically tell the truth and say, well, I was at Deaconess, but they just told him, he just said right here to the cop, they said to go file a police report. And again, look at his body language. This is not the body language of somebody who is like terrified and was just brutally assaulted. This is a petulant child making up a story.
And you should have done that last night, right?
Yeah, I wasn't working very long. They put like a
Did they say you had any injuries? Any broken bones or anything?
No, nothing major. She just tied a big bandage around my leg that I took off because it's sort of warm.
So, again, if you missed that, the cop asked, the cop's voice is clear, Lucas mumbles. The cop asked if you had any injuries, if there were any injuries reported, any broken bones, shit that would be obvious with a baseball bat and 2x4 and punched in the face and all the other shit he said happened. The answer was no. Nothing major. They put a bandage around my leg, and remember, the leg was when he tripped and fell picking up trash. So they put a bandage on his leg that he just said he took off because it was hot and uncomfortable. So, yeah. Cool. He actually posted a nasty picture of his scraped shin on one of his Instagram accounts, and I'm not going to go look it up because it's gross. He's diabetic. He heals very poorly.
Yep.
And then from there, I went up to the arena to see what was going on there.
So he gets out of the ER after this brutal beating where they tell him that he just basically needs a Band-Aid on the boo-boo on his leg. And then he walks several blocks, and I could pull up a map of Spokane. I'm not from the area, but from Deaconess, from Jimmy's to where he claims the assault happened, to Deaconess, back to the arena shelter, which he actually got banned from, that's several miles of walking. And he claims he was hit in the leg with a baseball bat, in addition to being hit in other places. And he just was wandering all around downtown because...
And to tell them what was going on.
Okay.
There's no one else to tell.
So he went to the homeless... I don't think he was banned from the arena at this point yet. But he wandered there to tell them what was going on. I'm like, sure, Lucas. The mystery flavored Dum-Dums, I always get our pineapple for some reason. I've never got any other one other than pineapple is the mystery flavor. That's really weird.
I don't have a phone. I went to the police station by the Amtrak this morning.
Okay.
Everybody was out doing business. So.
Yeah, we've moved there, and now we're across the street. So if you have a walk-up complaint, you go across the street.
Yeah. I didn't know you guys were fully moved in.
Nor 44 report number.
It's getting scary.
It's getting scary. But, yeah, this part towards the end, like the cops telling him that's a rough area of town, you shouldn't be hanging out there alone. I honestly don't know if that's true or not. I've never actually been to, I don't think I've ever been to Washington. Furthest north on the West Coast I've ever been to San Francisco. Yeah, I don't think I've ever actually been to Washington. So I couldn't tell you for sure if the cop's right or if he's just trying to make Lucas feel better, but...
Yeah.
Like before it was just online harassment and a few idiots stalking me around town and taking my picture and making fun of me on the internet. Now they're physically trying to attack me.
except nobody physically tried to attack you. You have no visible injuries. But his body language, and I hate to do the thing of like reading body language because that's not always clear. You know, if somebody's got cognitive impairments or if they're on the autism spectrum or if they're mentally ill or on drugs or something, sometimes your body language doesn't match up. But Lucas's body language this whole time has been very, very closed off, very kind of confrontational and defensive. Nothing like if I had been assaulted like that, first of all, I'd still be in the hospital. But yeah, I would definitely not be like defensive, pissed off talking to a cop. I'd probably be scared half to death if like 3 random people just like jumped me, and then I'd probably never go outside alone at night again. He's not acting correctly for somebody who's been assaulted as badly as he claimed he was assaulted. But he was never assaulted because there's no injuries, not from the hospital, not from what the body cam showed. It didn't happen. It just didn't happen. Are you the fat chick with the blonde hair? Can I be the manic pixie dream girl who yelled at him? I don't think I have a voice for that one. I can't be the fat Albert dude because I'm totally the wrong race and I'm not really that fat, but maybe I can be just the rando white guy that smacked him with a 2x4.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
My advice would be stay at the shelters and use the services available.
Yeah, stay at the shelters. The problem with that, he wasn't actually banned from House of Charity at this point, but he did eventually get banned from House of Charity that October.
And then I wouldn't hang out at Spring and Howard. You know what I'm saying?
Especially at night. Like
They still have that Crip like graffiti on the ground.
Yeah, still there.
They still have that Crip graffiti. You know, Crips are a gang. So it's kind of a bad
Lucas has no idea what this cop is talking about.
spot to just be chilling. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't even like hanging out down
Who
there.
cares?
Yeah, especially
Yeah,
at nighttime.
Wild assholes. Just everywhere.
So if you're just trying to go kick it somewhere, I wouldn't be kicking it at Sprague and Howard. Trying to start up political arguments with people.
No.
That's,
I usually just
The cop's like, hey, don't start political arguments with people outside a bar, you dumb fuck.
shut my mouth.
there you go. There's our crime victim card. I'll write a report for you and take it from there. I'm glad you're okay, Lucas.
Doing all right. Thanks.
Take care, man. All right. Oh, he's clean.
I wish that hadn't cut off there, but you can tell the cop was starting to go with, well, he's claiming blah, 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 blah. The looks that the other 2 guys at the transit authority were giving the cop after Lucas walked off, like, dude, that just happened. But yeah, that's honestly what it's like. Yeah, the reactions are great. Yeah, at least the cop was smart enough to shut his body cam off before he probably started making fun of Lucas. I mean, that's fair enough. But yeah, that was the injury. It was a good one. The nice hi puppy. The nice part in his hair with no blood, no bruising, no nothing. You know what? Just get that all copied out. And make sure I have that saved because I'm gonna use that later. So yeah, I got a real nice clear screenshot of that. Yeah, if he went up any further on the back of his head, a big old bald spot would have come out. But yeah, I make fun of his bald spot, but whatever, people go bald. That would be funny. But yeah, I did submit the Freedom of Information Act to get the actual written report to see if that cop actually filed one. And I'm sure he did, but I would just love to see what was written on it. Because the body cam footage was good enough. And you can clearly tell that Lucas was lying in all of it, so that's awesome. Let me see if I got anything else that's worth going over. If that was kind of all I sort of planned, because that I just particularly wanted to go over that one because I know that made him so mad, just like immensely mad to see that, because he did not know that existed, and I'm really happy about that. hell is this video? Oh, I'm not on the right drive. That's why I'm not finding anything. Smart. I'm smart. I'm trying to figure out the last time I did a backup. I was going to see if I had one already downloaded of the text messages with the 17-year-old. I don't remember if I do. I can always go grab it. It's not exactly that hard, but I figured if I already had it, it'd stop me from having to go download my own shit. The vast majority of my 4 terabyte external drive is Lucas Werner videos. I downloaded both of his entire channels just in case he decided to start dirty deleting stuff. But yeah, there's just this huge folder of like almost 3 terabytes worth of Lucas shit. But yeah, apparently I didn't back that one up yet, so I need to just go and grab it real quick. Did you just burp at me from across the room? You're dumb. He's being quiet. There we go, hitting on a 17-year-old with the Wern. I really should use a quieter keyboard when I'm doing these, but I like my clickies. Do not have terrible slow download speeds. Oh my God. 2 minutes. How long is this? Oh, whatever. I'm waiting for that to download. Oh, some of these. How do I make so many? Oh, look at him. I'm just grossing myself out with my own thumbnails because in so many of them he's showing his dirty teeth and his teeth just squick me out. I don't like his teeth. I just don't like his teeth. I just don't like his teeth at all. Don't. They're unpleasant. I mean, they're cleaner now, so I'll give him that. But in some of those older videos, when his teeth are just like have black between them, it just. Ugh. Oh yeah, definitely check out the podcast. And the podcast is interesting to watch the whole thing because for the first like 2 hours, Lucas is being extremely manipulative with the way he does when he's trying to make people think that he's not this like creep that goes after little kids, right? And that it's all in his past. It's not recent, none of that. So he's very good at coming off as just a nice guy who's down on his luck. But you can see him change when it gets to the point where he's cornered and being confronted and nobody's letting him change the subject or get away from answering for his own shit. And I don't believe a word he said. I don't believe he's trying to be better. I believe he's trying to put off the illusion that he's trying to be better in hopes that people will leave him alone. But I don't think he's actively trying to be better. You're right, he's bullshitting. And he's, oh, are we ringing bells? Oh, I've got bells ringing. I gotta go let my dog out. So hopefully by the time I get back, this slow-ass download will be done. But yeah, I gotta go let the dog out to pee. Otherwise, he just is gonna pee by the door with the bells, and I don't want to deal with that. Actually, I guess I could put something else on. Because he can wait for like 2 seconds. Stop that. Oh, we're doing the black screen when I switch windows today. I see. I love it when it does that. Here we go. We're going to put up, so this one, Goldar actually sent me this video. Look at that, I'm in the Outcast Owls Discord. And I don't know why he sent this video to Goldar, because it's silent. It was just a loop of him making weird faces at his phone. But Lucas wanted Goldar to make him a 5-minute dating video as penance for some dumb shit. So I set it to music because I'm nice like that. So y'all can listen to this while I go let my dog out to have a pee. I forgot there was a bit of silence in this one. Anyway, that's a great video. That's a great video. Okay. Good. Becky's gonna ring that bell again in a minute. Oh yeah, that phone call. I can't believe Lucas didn't recognize that guy's voice in that catfish phone call. Like I can't. Well, the thing with him was he got in a little over his head. I think. I don't think he realized Lucas was quite as bad as he was, and how puppy we just came in, and how much you have to handle him carefully when Kiwi Farms knows what you're doing, because some of the people there have really specific ways of like how you interact or don't interact with them. And the general consensus of the site is that for people like these cows, that you typically don't want to interact with them directly too much. It's more interesting to just let them, be idiots and laugh at them. So whenever you do get people that do interact with them directly, if the general vibe is that they're letting him walk all over them, it tends to not get met with a great sort of reaction. And part of Goldor's problem, or Galdor, whatever, great, I'm doing Galdor. But part of the problem there was that he had never done like podcasts before. He was definitely not prepared for the type of asshole Lucas is when he's not medicated, even when he is medicated. Yeah, I mean, he was a kid, more or less. I mean, he was basically like 20, 21 years old. And he'd never done podcasts before. He'd never handled an idiot like Lucas. Like, you have to handle him right. Otherwise, what you get is just basically Lucas using your podcast as another platform for him to scream his bullshit on, and you can just go to his channel and watch that same thing. So it does sort of come off like a waste of time a lot of times because of that. But yeah. So I think they were a little harsh with him. I mean, he was just kind of a kid and didn't really know what he was doing. Yeah. I mean, yeah. The only one that made him melt down worse was at the end of that when Sophie got taken away from him. But yeah, that screaming move on and then talking about how like 4-year-olds were saying they wanted to have sex with him. Yeah, that was something else. But yeah, with Lucas on podcasts, you do have to be careful with how you handle him because otherwise it puts him in control more or less. And then he just does what he wants. And that's just, he doesn't need that. I mean, he doesn't need to be given that kind of freedom. So that's why a lot of times when he's on podcasts, when it seems like the podcast hosts, no matter who they are, don't have control of Lucas on their podcast, it gets kind of a negative reaction because, if we want to see Lucas just screaming his usual bullshit and freaking out, you can go to his Instagram, you can go to his YouTube channel, it's the same thing there. And there's not other people jumping in with it. So that's usually why when podcasts don't go well with Lucas, it's because the hosts, because they don't want Lucas to rage quit because, they billed him as being the guest, and Lucas was notorious for rage quitting when he didn't get his way, right? So they didn't want him to rage quit because that would just end their podcast and then have nothing else to talk about. So they would give him a lot of leeway to, be an asshole. But yeah, Lucas, that wasn't even an intervention because it doesn't sink in. And I know it doesn't sink in because if you've missed me ever saying it, I have about 3 or so different accounts that he's been talking to for years. And he thinks pretty much they're all young women. Not in the area, so, we can't date. But none of it sinks in. He's been talking about how everyone was making up lies about him, that we didn't believe his story, that it was just horrible and he was being bullied. He doesn't, none of it sunk in. None of it sunk in. And I didn't think it would. I didn't go there thinking that he was going to have some kind of epiphany of like, oh shit, I'm a trash person and need to fix it. He doesn't feel bad about any of it. What he feels bad about is that he got himself cornered in a way that he couldn't quit. And some of it was the meds keeping him slightly calmer, but there was another component to it, and a couple of people on the farms pointed it out too. He couldn't leave. Because if he would have left, if he would have rage quit that podcast last night after I came on, or after they started really confronting him about some of this shit, it would have confirmed what they were saying, and it would have made him look bad, and he knew that. He spent 2 hours building himself up as just this like sweet board game nerd who was, just trying to make his life better, and had it blown apart in about 10 minutes flat. And then he was trying to do damage control, and the damage control didn't work because nobody else on that live is an idiot, and none of them were believing him. They were humoring him at best. And when he started to realize that, that's when he started to get really angry tears and frustrated tears, and starting to go, because he figured that's what was being hinted at. What they wanted him to do was to admit that he fucked up, admit that he was at fault, admit that he was lying, admit all of this stuff. That's why he did it, because he was hoping to take the pressure off. It would be nice to believe that he's going to get his shit together and get his house in order, but he's not. He isn't. He isn't. But yeah, the angry shaking was great. The money shot when he came back, and was wiping the tears out of his eyes. Yeah, he wasn't upset because he had an epiphany about what he's done to himself and what he's done to his life. He was upset because he was cornered, and he couldn't get out of it. That's the thing. Women on those panels can get Lucas to do just about anything as long as they're just sweet to him, because he falls for it like every single time. Yeah. Well, and even if he rage quit, they'd probably still have him back, because when people start to rage quit, then you get the reputation for that, and people think it's funny. But he knew it would make him look bad if he rage quit being confronted with things that were like cops' body cam footage and DMs from a 17-year-old to a 17-year-old. He knew that quitting, whether he rage quit or whether he had a quote-unquote disconnect or technical problems, if he bowed out early before it was over, he knew that would make him look worse. And it would give credence to what we were saying. It would make people go like, oh yeah, they must have a point. He couldn't take the heat and he left. So part of it was the meds. The meds do keep his moods a little more even. But part of it was, that he knew it would make him look bad. The lying thing, like even he never admitted to lying about the stupid baseball bat attack. We were just outside, puppy. But he wouldn't fully admit to lying about the baseball attack, but he changed his story several times when she was asking for clarification. He changed his story when he was talking to the cop, like we just watched. And he changed the story between his memes. If you look at his old Instagram accounts, he changes the story all the time because it didn't happen. But yeah, some of it too, and I've kind of always thought this since I started really like paying attention to what he was doing back in 2019. Some of it is self-defense. Because, and a lot of people will do this when their life is like absolutely shit for one reason or another. They will form like maladaptive daydreaming, more or less. They will form these elaborate fantasy worlds, these elaborate conversations that never happened, that happen in their heads, these elaborate scenarios in which they're a victim, but they're trying. And it's a self-defense mechanism, because if it's somebody else's fault, if somebody else is keeping you down, if somebody else is making your life miserable, if it's trolls, if it's people harassing you in real life, if it's XYZ, if it's anything but you, then it doesn't hurt, and it can't hurt you. But when you have to start focusing and looking at the fact that there's nobody else to blame, that's when it becomes difficult. And every time Lucas kind of gets close to that point, either through meds or therapy or just like a really depressive funk, the self-defense mechanism kicks back in and he swings right back around to no, it's the bigots, or no, it's this, or no, it's that, it's not me, it's not me, it's not me. Yeah, I mean they do even his mood out, and that's what they're supposed to do. That's what Abilify and Depakote are supposed to do. They're supposed to even your moods out. But yeah, even when he was medicated, when you look back at his videos on both the Wern channel and his Lucas Werner channel, from around 2017, and 2017 is kind of the major one, because he had been in the psych ward, I think, for almost 2 years. But and he's heavier and he's slower and he's speaking like he was talking last night. He's very even. He's generally kind of clear. His ideas are still a little muddy, but he generally speaks clearly, and he's calm. But that underlying "I want to fuck a teenager" is still there in those videos. So the medication doesn't change whatever screwed up in his head that makes him want to fuck a teenager. It just keeps his moods a little more even. I'm betting he cried himself to sleep last night. Anyway, my dog is crying at the door again, so I'm going to go let him out a little bit longer this time, because apparently we did not fully pee while we were outside last time. So yeah, I'm going to just find something else to put on here so you don't have to just like stare at a silent screen. What am I being recommended? God, I could just go right to one of Lucas's things. Hey, you know what? Here, we're just going to go right over to Lucas's channel. This is from 2 years ago. Don't comment on my YouTube posts. I mean, we can't. Your comments are off, but
Theists are pretty awful. The fact that they start in with the whole, well, what about shit? I mean, even atheists and agnostics do that whole, like, well, what about that time you lived in a homeless shelter, Lucas? Oh, I don't know. What about that time you went grocery shopping? Guys, you realize that every grocery store franchise in this country is owned by some family that believes in God? Doesn't that make you a hypocrite? See, I could do that shit all day. I'm just not going to argue with a bunch of like people with a high school mentality. So I block the comments. If you got something to say to me, I don't want to hear it. I've heard it. I can go into myself and how I'm, a shitty person. I got my anger issues. I got things where I got to fight, things like that. I'm overweight and I've lost a couple 100 pounds, but I am still overweight. I got skinny arms. I don't talk much in public. I could go into me easily, but I've never heard anybody just like lay into themselves who lay into me. They'll lay into me all day. They'll downvote me. They'll give me 100 downvotes, and I'll be there like, but you don't go into yourself, how you're a bad person or how you need to improve, so I don't really care. Unless it's like 7 billion downvotes, it's just at the most has been like, what, like 50? Oh wow, 50 people on this planet don't like me. I'm so pissed. Big deal. Like if it's 100, who cares? If it's 1,000, who cares? If it's 1,000,000, who cares? 1,000,000 people in this world hate me. There's like almost 8 billion people in this world. You're never going to get to a point where it's like, 1 billion people hate me. It still wouldn't matter. If there was 1 billion downvotes, it would still be like, well, there's 7 billion people out there that have not downvoted. Almost. I still wouldn't be upset. I'd just be like, there's 1 billion people that hate me. Great. That doesn't mean a damn thing. Unless it's like 8 billion people or something, it still doesn't mean a damn thing. All you trolls got like multiple accounts. I had 2. One I don't use anymore, but I'm out there out to troll people, like to get some sort of like momentary satisfaction from like hurting somebody's feelings. The only people's feelings I try to hurt are those who have hurt my feelings. You come in wagging your finger at me, I'm just going to tell you to preach your own advice, Practice what you preach. Stop gaslighting me. Go do your own thing. It doesn't really matter to me. I mean, if you're that type of person and you're between 18 and 24, it doesn't really matter. If you're just like mean-spirited, or you have a tendency to like call people names when they didn't call you names, you're just mad because I put up boundaries, you're not my type of chick. Usually the mall rats are not my type of chick. I don't care if they're atheist, theist, or agnostic. I don't care if you're a woman there that's like a really good Christian giving person. If you're there like calling other women bitches, or you're like a dude that calls women bitches, we're not going to be very good fast friends.
You can walk in on a Lucas video after being away from it for 3 whole minutes and know what he's talking about because he just repeats the same shit over and over again. Can you tell I'm super pleased about having to stand out in like 35 below wind chill for this? Yeah, this is one of his manic videos.
Like, if you're there, you gotta, like, give me some sort of, like, nickname to disparage me, like Schmucus.
Oh, this is from Halloween 2019. Nobody calls you Schmucus. They call you Pucus on the forums, which admittedly is juvenile, but...
Or Hoser or something like that.
Poser.
I don't want to hear the rest of what you have to say ever again.
Who calls people posers anymore?
That's not a way to begin. That's why I do these videos, is because I want to put it out there what I will tolerate and what I won't. If you're up there like, you know, N-word on me, I'm
literally nobody is like N-word.
Guarantee that you're a violent person, and the people you know.
So this was something he claimed for a while, that people would come up to him and call him the N-word. Just go ahead and let that sink in for a minute. Yeah. He's really good at making you mentally tired after listening to him for a while.
Normally associate with are violent. Take a shower, you say.
Yeah, take a shower
every day. You go take a shower.
Take a shower, they say. You go take a shower. Jesus Christ.
It's ridiculous to me. I'm looking at myself and I think, you know, if I was a chick, I'd do it just because I look good. And I advocate for nonviolence. I'm not.
There's a thought you can sleep with. Lucas, if I was a chick, I'd date me because I'm good looking. In what fucking universe?
I'm not saying that I'm perfect. You narcissists are. You're saying nothing about yourselves is an imperfection. Nothing. I've never even in public heard a narcissist say something about themselves that is imperfect. I could say I'm imperfect. Look at my size and look at how skinny my wrists are. You know? I used to have like yellowy teeth because I smoked for 20 years, but then I stopped smoking. I could still get...
Anyway, Lucas is boring. So I went and kind of grabbed the clip that I wanted to get because I'm going to try to not be up well past midnight again today so I can be not a zombie tomorrow. But the LA catfish thing, I'm actually really curious about that, like what his thought process was on that one. But when he came back, I had some spare money and I was bored out of my damn mind. And he was publicly posting his motel room and which Motel 6 in Spokane he was at. So I sent him some catfish right after he got back from being catfished to LA. And if you've missed... Oh, gross, I'm getting spam messages. Anyway, if you missed that, we're gonna watch that because he had an amazing little meltdown of it. I'm gonna go to jail for the hate crime of sending him catfish. It's hard to see in the video when it comes up, but there was a bag of frozen catfish, and then the store also had these towels that had like basically mermaid cats on them, so catfish. So like a cat heads and cat paws, and then like a fish tail. Yeah. Lucas didn't think it was as funny as I did, so you know.
This trolling effort is just getting worse and worse. This has been 5 years of this bullshit. Now we know that Gen Z women are a bunch of bigot ass bitches, or they're the Trumpanzees doing this. But I don't see any love from any of you. They put this at my door. I contacted the Motel 6 staff, and we had a nice conversation, and they probably have you on the cameras right here. Listen,
so mad.
The cameras are right here. They saw you. If they find out your license plate number, they're calling the Spokane Police Department, and I'm gonna press charges. You think it's fucking funny, but it's not.
I do think it's fucking funny, and it
You're gonna
is.
go to jail for this shit.
I'm gonna go to jail, y'all, for a hate crime.
So, I mean, the trolling effort is just getting more and more extreme. You're just proving to me that Generation Z women are a bunch of bigot bitches.
He thinks I'm a Gen Z.
Oh, you don't want to be called bigots or bitches or classists, and stop acting like it. Maybe it's your Trumpanzee asses. princess. You stupid slut during COVID. I hate you.
So Lucas is very, very insecure in his own sexuality. Anything that makes him think that he's coming off as gay or anything less than straight, maybe I should pick up my mic and not leave it sitting on the desk. Anything that makes him come off like he's not perfectly straight makes him mad. And he was so angry that I was calling him princess for a while. Like, that just sent him. Yeah, that. Oh, yeah. The best part, yeah, the compilation this is part of. He spent the whole time, and there's actually a doubled up video in there because they all run together in my head for a while. But somebody convinced him that he should do voice acting. And he spent like the first almost all of this video that I was playing here just being like really smug and showing off his voice acting skills and talking about how the Geek Room bought him like $100 of food or paid him $50 or some shit, whatever they paid him to be on that podcast at this time, or at the time he was on there twice. And that convinced him that he was worth that like all the time. So he was being really, really, really insufferable. And that was actually why I decided to send him the catfish to just like pop his little ego bubble because I knew it would piss him off. Oh God, yeah, when he was eating that nasty prime rib out of the tinfoil thing on his chest, oh God, that was disgusting. It's just, I don't like mukbangs in general, but watching Lucas eat is nasty. Like, it's just beyond nasty. He doesn't close his mouth when he chews. He takes like abnormally large bites of everything. It's just, ugh. No, thank you. But yeah, that catfish one was great. Here's the one I was looking for. On the catfish one, I was looking for the one with the 17-year-old. That's what I was gonna do. Okay, it finally can open. Thank God. Okay. All right. Pop this back. Whoa, back on the screen, please. All right, this is a huge resolution. I'm gonna have to resize this. I don't know why I save these in such big ass resolutions. They never look good because Lucas has a potato phone that he records his videos on. Apparently my meds are kicking in. I'm starting to slur a little bit. Don't worry, I'll stay awake. It's the screenshot for Lucas. Oh yeah, I got Lucas's thread up. Here we go. Hey, are you gonna make me? You are not gonna make me go to my own channel to find it. Oh, I don't like you. Okay, fine, whatever. I'll just go to my own channel and do it. I'm gonna be that way about it. I'm not getting paid to fight with technology. I get paid to fight with technology during the day, not at night. All right. Refresh. It takes it a minute to actually refresh my Windows list, so here we go. So this was the second video that was on the Outcast Owls podcast last night. And this was the one where it ended up with Lucas cutting his mic and camera to basically go have a sneaky little cry. So he was mad about the cop thing, but he wasn't nearly as mad because that's, I mean, yeah, okay, so he lied about that. That's overall, it's a harmless lie, and it's a stupid lie, but it's ultimately a stupid, harmless lie. This one, though, this was one, the person who contacted me on Instagram about this one didn't want to send the screenshots right away because the girl was actually 17. So this wasn't somebody catfishing Lucas. She was 17. Like, she was actually 17. She is in the comments of this video because Lucas made some comments about how they were going to hook up after she turned 18. And she came in and she was like, whoa, what the fuck? I said I would go to a burger with you, not that we were going to hook up. So, yeah. This actually could have been a victim because she didn't really Google him. He found her. He claims that she talked to him first, but he stalks the Spokane tags on. I never say that city right the same twice. Who the fuck knows? He stalks those tags on Instagram. You can set up a catfish account. I mean, you could go like, full on perverted justice and just set up an account that looked like some young girl from the area. And it's almost guaranteed that if you had enough selfies and the account looked legit, that Lucas would slide right into your DMs. So I don't believe that she contacted him first. I'm pretty sure that he contacted her first. And she's 17. She didn't really look into who he was. She probably saw like some political memes and whatnot, and thought he was basically harmless. But this is the closest Lucas has really gotten to actually luring an underage girl out. The video isn't actually 9 full minutes. The most of the video is Lucas talking to that guy Sharif that was at one of the shelters he was at in March 2021. So this is one that Lucas especially didn't like, not because of because of the DMs and what they are and how damning they are, but because it's not old. With the other stuff, Lucas could say, well, that was in 2020, or that was in like 2018, or that was in 2016, or 2013, or 2014. This was less than a year ago. So these DMs, I posted this one on the 15th of March of 2021. I had the DMs a month earlier, but the person who sent them asked me to not post them until they cleared it with the 17-year-old to make sure that she was okay with them being posted. So this was less than a year ago. And part of why he was so mad was because he could not write this off as being in his distant past. This is very, very recent. And he wasn't really on his meds, but he also kind of had on and off places to stay, so he wasn't like sleeping outside either. He still had access to shelters. So yeah, we'll just take a peek at these messages that Lucas was so frustrated crying about
Not
last
in the
night.
cards for you.
I hate watching me eat those noodles.
I'm pretty good at insults, and I got the internet and a lot of free time.
I mean, I guess bro could be if you really wanted to. Oh yeah, I was right. Late February, March. But yeah, he tried to deflect this one, and he really couldn't. And Ms. Parker didn't let him, and she absolutely shouldn't have. And yeah, I certainly didn't let him. And even the two guys from Owls were just like, you can't dodge this one, man. But he I'm gonna air quote it, admits that he was wrong, but he doesn't care. Nothing happened. He didn't get arrested or get in any real trouble. So to him, it doesn't count. Oh, I know. Isn't that the worst when you're like trying to find something with Lucas and you just find a rabbit hole of things that are even worse than the thing you were looking for? Puppy, please don't take the couch. Puppy. Puppy. Hey. Hey. Dogs listen to me as well as Lucas listens to anyone. Oh, yeah. Lucas was going on trying to get over and say that I was a liar on that stream. And then in like 2 of my accounts that he talks to, he was talking about how I was a liar and made up parts about him making up. He tried to call Walter a liar at the end of that stream. Walter, I don't know if you watched that stream yet, but at the end of it, they asked him if he was more annoyed by you or by me, and he was more annoyed by you because you lie all the time, and we didn't let him get away with that either. I mean, I've seen your videos, obviously. And I did jump in on that one. It's like, hey, Walter just does higher production value of the stuff that I do on a less frequent basis when it comes to you. But it's the same thing at its base. It's taking screenshots of things you posted and just reading through them. How is that lying? And he couldn't answer how that was lying, and he just got mad and dropped the subject. So clearly you're lying, and I'm lying, showing the body cam footage from the cop. I'm surprised he didn't accuse me of making up these DMs, but yeah, he thinks people believe it, and they don't. The people who do believe it are people who are trolling him. He's salty you still make more money off of anything than he does. Yeah, he got really mad when he found out I was able to monetize my Instagram. Just doing card readings about him. Yeah, that's always great. He's definitely salty that you make money off of his content, and he couldn't even get people to subscribe to his Patreon. Yeah, he asks for all that money and then he still does the same thing and gives it away for free. So. Oh yeah, I remember the mitigated one. He told me to prove him wrong that he was not using it correctly, so I gave him like the dictionary definition and then he ran away. So I mean, okay. If it were anyone else, I would say it was somebody that was trying to make a flirty joke, but Lucas absolutely meant friends with benefit. Some of these are out of order because they were sent to me out of order, and the person who sent them didn't actually know what order some of them were in. But this was actually her name. This was a 17-year-old girl. This was not a catfish. And that's just something to keep in mind here. But yeah, he was trying to claim that he asked her out for a burger, but then he's like immediately calling it a date. You can kind of tell she's generally uncomfortable here, but he doesn't pick up on that, of course. And this was part where she was saying, someone, I don't know you very well. My parents are at work. Here's that one probably should have been first. Friends with. And then he's begging her to go out with him, and she says, "Well, yeah, I will when it's safe. Safe meaning like the pandemic is as over as it's fucking ever gonna get." And this was also around the time when Lucas was railing in his memes that people who were going out during COVID were fucking morons and like sluts and whores and whatever. And she expresses her concern about that, and he says it's safe now. And then she's, her family's going to have problems with it, obviously. She counters, I don't think so. People are still dying, and I don't want my grandma to be one of them, dropping or not. And then he starts talking about her dad probably being his age, which isn't a red flag at all. And it's disgusting. And then here's the notification that this was one that he got grilled on too. It's like, how do you think that's appropriate? And he's like, oh, that was wrong with me, because he didn't have an answer to it. And he knew that's the answer that people wanted. But he doesn't see anything wrong with this. He sees absolutely nothing wrong with having sent this to a girl that he knew was 17. Yeah. And if it had been a catfish, this would be funny, because that's a lot of times how people catfish this dumb motherfucker. But this was an actual 17-year-old. This was an actual teenager that he was actively trying to lure, and if he had succeeded, probably would not have gone well for her. Oh, yeah, the just pure rage in his eyes when this part came up was... Yeah, it was great. That was a great feeling to just see that cornered, angry animal look. Yep. So here's where this is just like a fucking TCAP log. Only she said 17 and not 13. Hey. But yeah, she's complaining here that he's moving too fast. There's chunks of these missing. I went back and looked through again, like last night, to see if there were more that I'd missed, but there were just chunks missing in the person that the 17-year-old sent this to. So what he's talking about is going out for the burger and like coming back to meet her parents and shit. And she's saying, well, that's like super fast. And this is like a nervous LOL. When people do an LOL and stuff like that, they're typically very nervous. And now he's like, oh, you consider this fast? Explain. And she straight up says, I'm 17. And pretty sure I'm too young for you, just to be clear. And he says, you're how old? She just said 17, you dumb bitch. She just said 17. Yeah, most 17-year-olds would be, but he's really good about spinning his narrative to make him look like a victim. And I've known a lot of people like him, my ex included, but I've also known just a lot of people in general like him, that no matter what they do, no matter what history they have of how many bridges they've burned, they are amazingly good at making themselves out to be the victim. And when they find somebody who's not familiar with them, it works a lot of the time. It doesn't stay up long because that mask eventually slips. But in this case, it's lucky that it slipped, or that she found out who he was and what he was before she agreed to sneak out and meet him. And then here, like, he's already talking about we need to get married ASAP. And she's like, I'm not even legal. Oh, I like sleeping at night. It's hard to sleep without cuddles. 18 is legal. Bitch, she's 17. Oh, I know, that's so disgusting. Just, interesting. Continue as he strokes his neck beard. So this, so she knows how age of consent works. She went and looked it up, and he sent this screenshot again. That's just a Google search that says it's 16 and doesn't elaborate. But she clearly went and looked it up because and she was a little off on the dates. It has to be within 5 years, so she would have had to be about 21 or no, 22 to date a 17-year-old. But she's correct in that there is a cutoff to where it's legal, and that he's past it. He said, "Oh, we can go out and get a burger together. There's people holding hands all the time." And this is hard to see in here, but this is a screenshot of age of consent Washington is the search term. And then she gets this, whoa, sex? Because that was not what they'd been talking about. At least it's inept groomer shit. And I actually kind of pasted the statute in here. We can pause to read, but basically it explains what misconduct with a minor is. But yeah, the person has or knowingly causes another person under the age of 18 to have sexual intercourse with another person who is at least 16 years old, but less than 18 years old and not married to the perpetrator if the perpetrator is at least 60 months, 5 years older than the victim. So that's why he was talking about needing to get married ASAP, because if he marries her when she's 17, it's legal to fuck her when she's 17. Oh, yeah, I would go get a fresh latte to make sure it was hot if I'd had mine for a while, and maybe would ask him to make it extra hot, and then would go dump it right over his fat, balding head. But yeah, it's definitely not legal, unless they were married, which would be another whole creep show in and of itself. But yeah, he's obviously older than 5 years of 17, so it would be sexual misconduct with a minor if he were to bag a 17-year-old. And of course, you can show him this, and he'll think you're making it. How long did I leave this on the screen? God damn. I don't know why the music has to play. Y'all don't have to hear that. Yeah, he was 41 at the time. Lincoln, yeah. So here he's lying to her again. There's nothing illegal. And I know he knows this is wrong because several people have told him that it's wrong, either in Instagram comments. I had one sock account that I told him on, and then on that particular sock account, Kiwi Farms was like, oh, there's a pedo sympathizer. I'm like, fuck, shut up. Don't blow my cover on that one. You know, you got to be a friend. So that's partially why I don't like comment publicly on any of his stuff, so they don't find out which sock accounts are mine. But yeah, he had posted something, was a picture of an alleged 17-year-old, clearly a catfish, talking about how he was going to date her, and I posted in the comments with that statute that we just went by, basically saying, you know, hey, she's not legal at 17. You're over 22. You probably don't want to be hitting on a 17-year-old. And the links were there, and he knows. So he absolutely knows that this is a lie that he's telling her. And she's, correct here. She's talking, and if this is true, what she's telling him, she's talking about a really dysfunctional family that probably has some, abuse in their own past if they're, going to jail for dating people who are not of age. Yeah, my parents are millionaires. Never mind, they cut him off. And now he's getting pushy. And we've seen this in other DMs that have leaked, but I want to see you, I like you, I know, but it's a pandemic, socially distanced. Again, this is like nervous laughter that he doesn't pick up on. Phase 2, whatever the hell that means. And then I thought we were going to wait until after I was 18. Why not now? Why not? So he's getting pushy. And she's talking about like her parents aren't going to approve. She doesn't feel, Lucas doesn't get the lingo, but I feel some kind of way too is typically a way of saying I don't feel good about this, just in a general sense. So she's telling him here that her parents would not approve this, they won't be okay with it, and that she's not okay with it. He can't. He really can't. He has no social awareness. This is the worst part of this. It's disgusting. You're still in high school. That's right. Now, yeah, I know 18-year-olds are still in high school and occasionally you get a 19-year-old. But she has told him that she's 17 at this point, and he knows that she's in high school and he's still pursuing her. And again, this is not a catfish. This is a real 17-year-old who did not, because she's 17, didn't really think to kind of look up who he was at all before getting into DMs with him. She realized, thankfully, before anything happened, but only haters are creeped out, apparently. This is another good one. So Lucas has self-admitted anger issues, and some of those stem from him when he's not on his meds. It makes whatever he's got, his mood swings worse. But this is a clear sign. Like, this is a red flag. Meds are not. A statement like this is a huge red flag. Because what's going to happen is she's going to be on a pedestal, right? And eventually somebody is going to fall off that pedestal or be knocked off that pedestal, and he's going to explode, and not in a fun way, on her. And she will be his target. But yeah, if you have to have a temper tantrum at least once a day to feel normal, it's not because you don't have a girl in your arms, it's because you need medication and therapy. Yeah, I'm really glad that she decided to look into who this was before actually deciding to meet him. I don't think she was ever really going to meet him because she was clearly uncomfortable by that point. Gotta throw a glass once a day, too much sugar, too much caffeine. But yeah, just this whole statement is just a massive, massive red flag. And like nobody, like I understand that being single for a lot of people is something that they don't like. Like a lot of people do want to have a partner, they don't want to be single. So I get that you can be frustrated, that it might, make your mood a little snappy, that you might not generally be overall happy. But if it's making you explode in anger, first of all, you're probably an incel. But second, you need to get that dealt with, because that's some mental health or cognitive behavioral issues you have going on that will come out against someone if you do get them as a partner. I mean, I know I throw shit at the wall all the time when I have a little too much coffee. This is also disgusting. Yeah. Explode like the Hulk. At least the Hulk had a few PhDs. I mean, he's got that over you. But yeah, and notice the wording with, he's not saying I need a girl. He needs my girl. He's referring to her. The one to be. Maybe she's right here telling me she cares about me. He's trying to coerce her into saying, "Oh, I do care about you, Lucas." He would absolutely be a spouse beater. So yeah, and this is where the message is cut off. He's just babbling to Sharif, and there's like some other lady screaming in the background. It's not really worth watching, but it's a compilation. So, but yeah, those were the two things that he got confronted with last night. Those DMs, and then the cop video. Yeah. Oh god, that ankle bracelet! I forgot about the ankle bracelet. He denies ever having the ankle bracelet. If you ask him now. He doesn't remember the vandalism charge. He doesn't remember why he got it. I don't think it would reach his pants given how small he is. Then again, he's quote unquote joked that he doesn't see the point of underwear because all they do is catch your shit. So maybe it would just dribble onto his pants at some point. He's going to stay single forever. I mean, no, I've met some women with really low standards, like extremely bar on the ground standards, and even they would look at Lucas and just kind of go, nope. Yeah, if your partner's telling you my only rule is you can't be violent, that means you've been violent before, and you've been violent towards them before. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that before that rule went into place, Lucas had maybe not attacked her physically or anything, but had shown his anger issues to her, and she thought maybe it was something that was a little more controllable than it was. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've met a woman whose standards are low enough to date Lucas the way he is now. Like, I don't know what the hell Suzanne saw in him. Maybe she just wanted like a fat little teddy bear kid to take care of or something. I don't know. She seemed to genuinely like him. And I don't know what he was like back then either. Maybe he wasn't. I mean, that was the time he was the wizard as well. So maybe he was just as insufferable. I don't know. But yeah, for all the like weird garbage of my ex-wife, like there were never statements like my only rule is you don't punch the wall next to my head or body check me. I mean, you just those are rules you don't have to make because it's standard normal human behavior to not behave that way towards your partner. If you have to make those rules, that's a problem. That had to have been his only positive trait because at the time he was like, what, like 450? He's got like a micro dick. He's not that interesting to talk to. And all he did was like smoke weed and sing badly all the time. And she just seemed to adore him. But yeah, he would, if he had lured that girl out and she had for whatever reason decided to actually start dating him, there's no doubt in my mind that he would have turned physically violent. He would have been just, emotionally abusive and mentally abusive before they moved in together. But as soon as she got pregnant or as soon as she moved in with him, the physical shit would start because it always does. It never stays to just one. And Lucas, I mean, we've seen how little impulse control he has. And he'd always be sorry afterwards because they're always sorry afterwards. But it would keep happening. But yeah, I kind of wonder when we're going to see the next round of leaked DMs of Lucas trying to get with a little kid. It wouldn't surprise me if he's got DMs going with people he thinks are 17 and they just haven't been leaked yet. Well, and the thing with Olympia too, and this I mentioned at the beginning of I think I mentioned it at the beginning of the pod. Maybe it was in Discord. I don't remember. But it was in Discord. We were talking about him getting catfished. So Lucas's narrative on what are you chewing on? Oh, you're chewing on your bowl. That's okay. It sounded like he was chewing on plastic for a minute. So Lucas's narrative on why he moved from Olympia to Spokane has changed over the years. So if you go back, and I should probably go back and actually repost these because he'll claim I'm lying, but back in the day when he first ended up in Spokane, he freely admitted he was catfished. He was catfished from Olympia to Spokane by like two women and then just like stranded there. And he didn't have money to get back to Olympia. And he was upset about that because everything, it was kind of like the LA thing. He didn't bring anything with him. He just got on the damn bus and went from Olympia to Spokane. But then he started to kind of change his story the longer he was there. It wasn't that he was catfished. It was that he was, maybe coming out to meet someone who turned out to be a catfish, but he was really curious about the culture and the climate, and he heard it was so much nicer and so much more whatever than Olympia was. I'm not familiar with either city, but it was nicer than Olympia. It was more liberal than Olympia. It was just an overall better city than Olympia, and he likes it here. I'm not going to go back. Oh, I wish there was video of that. I really do. Kind of like how LA, when he thought he was stuck in LA, suddenly LA was amazing because he can't admit that he fucked up. But yeah, he's in Spokane because he got catfished from Olympia and can't afford to go back, more or less. And he's been there for like 5 years now. So yeah. Yep. Yeah, I used to go by the he retcons that all the time. Well, it's surprised Lucas gets politics wrong, huh? And his first college saga was definitely funnier than his second one, just because of the board game traps that he laid out, thinking like women would just like come across the room to him in his Batman pajamas and shirt with like little cherries all over it. Oh my god. But anyone who doesn't want to date him or talk to him is a conservative, so that's probably where he was pulling that from. Yep, you don't want to sleep with Lucas, you're a Trump supporting Nazi and you're worse than Mega Hitler. Yeah, Zoomers love fat hobos in Ninja Turtle shirts and Batman pants who put out meeple toss in the common area. Yeah, so Walter's got a short little playlist. I think it was there's 3 videos in it, and the third one is the college saga. That's a pretty good overview of it. So you should go watch that one for like more amusing detail on it. But basically, yeah, he went to the community college. He got a Pell Grant, and he wanted to study at a community college, mind you. And he wanted to study for a PhD. So of course we're off on a bad foot here when you're trying to study for a PhD at a community college. I mean, yeah, everyone has to start somewhere, but he wanted to do like astrobiology, astrophysics, like quantum physics, because there were 2 different things he wanted to do at the time. One of them was to discover extraterrestrial life. Okay. And the other one was to invent a time machine so he could win the lottery. Going to a community college to learn how to build a time machine so he could win the lottery. Yeah, he like pissed all his money away on making board games that were supposed to get him laid, and like everyone ignored him. Yeah, Motel 6 and Clinker Dagger on that one. Yeah, he makes great. Yeah, he was bragging the one time when his financial aid came in. He's like, yeah, I got like $1,700, and then I got my stimulus check, and then he just like blew it all on Motel 6 and Clinker Dagger. Didn't buy the computer he needed for classes. Didn't. Just, his priorities are just always so fucked up. It's just amazing. But yeah, but he's flunked out twice now, and I don't think he can apply for a Pell Grant again after that. Unless he formally withdrew, which I don't think he did. I think he just stopped going to classes and he flunked out. But he complained the first time around that biology at a community college at a freshman level is basically high school level biology. I started out at a 2-year vocational and went to a 4-year later to get a better degree in computer science. But I had to take like Bio 101. I had to take gen ed classes that were basically high school level classes. I'm pretty sure we had some GED people in those classes too. But yeah, I think you're right on that one, Walter. I think for the federal grants and whatnot, if you flunk out twice, you can't get a third round. He would have to really go all out convincing somebody that he would stick with it this time, and he's not capable of doing that. He just isn't. And even if he was, like, he couldn't pass like Bio 101, which if you want to go into astrobiology, which has biology in it, or if you want to go into your genetic age gap breeding, you have to be able to pass like Bio 101 at least. And it's just, I'm not going to make fun of him for having potentially a learning disability. That's just the thing that happens if he's got a learning disability, if he's got the cognitive problems that make him not able to learn basic high school level shit. That's fine. That's not something, again, that's like his mental illness. That's not something he can help. Sometimes even with tutoring, it doesn't work out. Like I have diagnosed issues with numbers, to put it lightly, to where I can't, like, you can show me how to do an equation, and I will understand it until you change a single number in it, and then I will have no idea how to even begin. So I have like a major learning disability where it comes to math. So I get that that's hard. The only reason I actually passed one of my math classes was I got a D, because the teacher didn't believe I was trying and thought I was like skipping tutoring, so she tutored me, and then realized I was just a dumbass. And she's like, "Well, I can tell you're trying. I'll give you a D." I'm like, thanks, ma'am, for the D to get me out of your class. But yeah, and if my phone didn't have a calculator, I'd be fucked. If registers couldn't make change for me, I'd be fucked. I'm just phenomenally bad with numbers. Yeah, there's a major with no math in physics. Physics. A major with no physics. How does he think physics with no math is going to work? I'd love to know. I'd love to know how he thought that any sort of physics degree with no math. Because yeah, he was complaining that like basic math was too hard, which okay, good. I'm not going to make fun of you for that. That basic biology was too hard. That and it wasn't him. No, it wasn't him. No, it wasn't him not putting in the effort. It was all these girls around him that wouldn't fuck him, and it was distracting. You see, that's why. Just women distracting him. Yeah, biology's boring and complicated, says the guy who wants the PhD in genetic age gap breeding. Yeah, it's always the girl. And even in the second college saga, he wasn't in a common area for more than a day. When he started posting pictures of just like random groups of students at tables clearly studying, talking about how, oh, that guy's got 2 chicks, what a greedy motherfucker. And it's like, they're studying in a common area. They're not fucking on the table, Lucas. Yeah, he's convinced people have orgies all the time and like warehouses and like just like specifically don't invite him like it's the No Homers Club. Yep, it's the college girls' fault. They all had masks on. If they didn't have masks on, then they were dumb bitches. But if they had masks on, you can't really approach them because you can't see what they look like. But then you'd be nervous because they have their masks on and. Maybe he always has an excuse to not approach women, which is probably a good thing. He shouldn't be approaching women. Honestly, you probably could convince him to buy something from the diploma, though. He does think he's right. He's been shown the actual law. He's been shown this whole video. He doesn't care. Because it doesn't matter that he knows he's wrong or that we know he's wrong. What's going to matter is that there's a really good chance that any young girl he starts in on isn't going to know that. Yeah, he's stalked Asian women before. He creeped on one of the bus and talked about all of her perky assets bouncing all over the place. It's like, damn it, Lucas. For a while, he mentioned the date with Kiki, the black girl who had a boyfriend who basically was somebody that he glommed on. Oh, I said glom. Wow. Onto a BLM rally and followed her for a couple bus stops, and she like bought him food to make him go away. But he went through a phase there for a little bit, and he decided that he didn't want to date a black woman because black women, and this is, I'm going to be very clear, this is Lucas's opinion that he posted. He didn't want a black woman any longer because black women are too loud, obnoxious, and they're not submissive enough. And then in the same breath, he turned around and said he wanted an Asian girl, specifically Korean, because they were so demure and quiet and submissive. He also didn't want Latino women for the same reason that he no longer wanted black women, that they were too loud and opinionated and not submissive enough. Lucas thinks they are because Lucas probably only sees them in porn. But yeah, you can tell Lucas has never met like literally any type of Asian family. The place I live in has a really high population of immigrants from China, Taiwan, Thailand, and Laos. You don't fuck with the women in those families; they will hurt you. The little old ladies will hurt you. If Lucas thinks that marrying any sort of Asian girl is going to get him a nice, quiet, submissive wife, probably not. Yeah, they probably not. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're gonna find people who have personalities all over the board. You're gonna find some who are, more submissive than others, or who are more confrontational than others. But yeah, not getting into the politics of that. China, we'll go with China, because I'd probably actually get banned there. Yeah, I'm surprised Lucas actually never mentioned Japanese. Anytime he talked to me, or most of the times in his memes in public, he was specifically targeting Korean, Thai, and there were some and I know there were some Vietnamese women in there because one of the models for Catfish was a Vietnamese woman, but he thought she was Korean. So yeah, she didn't even look remotely Korean. Um, but yeah, for a while he had that yellow fever thing going on there, and now when he was trying to suck up to Miss Parker, he definitely went back to the "I love black chicks," but like less than a year or two ago, recently just dropping all the slurs, but also the "oh well, they're too loud and not submissive enough." Mm-hmm. You don't want to say that around a lot of women. Oh, he got so much crap out of that one. That stupid. That correlation does not equal causation. I mean, like, oh, Japan has super fast bullet trains because their age of consent is 13. Is that the implication you had to have been making there was that they purposely made super fast trains to bus in all the perverts to the 13-year-old prefectures? I guess I don't know where he thought he was going with that meme, but it definitely backfired on him, like badly. I'm honestly surprised Lucas hasn't been like. I'm honestly surprised Lucas hasn't been like catfished over to like Thailand or something. And I think the only reason he hasn't is because he doesn't have money, and typically the women who do that sort of thing would be going after a guy with money. Uh, who knows? Maybe they need to lower their age of consent and they'll get faster trains. Yeah, that was an old catfish. The one that he tried to get her to cut her finger off. That he was joking about. Um, but yeah, Lucas is even before the LA thing. He had some kind of limits. Like you could get him to travel a little bit, but you couldn't really get him to want to go far enough that he wouldn't be able to reasonably get back to Spokane. Because being catfished away from Olympia, I think, was kind of the first one that sort of scared him. And then the LA one really did like terrify him. So I think it's going to be pretty hard to like catfish him to a point where he like actually goes somewhere anymore. He actually has started insisting for catfish that if they want to meet, like if they're real, that they meet him at Malin Place. Like he can meet people outside of the building. And obviously none of them show up because none of them are real. But I think the LA thing really did kind of put the fear of God into him more or less. So yeah, I don't think he's gonna get catfished anywhere outside of Spokane anytime soon. I mean, first of all, he can't really leave Malin Place and his feet are rotting. But yeah, that one UK catfish was creepy too. And all of it should go through the beginnings of. If you've never gone through the beginnings of the Kiwi Farms thread, you need to because there's a lot of screenshots of leaked DMs of him with catfish, and of him trying to the worst one, where he's talking about soft serve ice. Oh, this is what Walter was talking about earlier. You think about one thing about Lucas, and your brain digs up something even worse than what you were thinking about. So Lucas would send like sexy DMs and shit to people. And there's one, and I want to get the exact wording. I don't know why I think I need the exact wording, but it's disgusting. But if I have to be disgusted, I want to make sure I'm disgusting you all correctly. Because, we don't want to have Lucas come in and say that I'm, making shit up. But this was something that he sent to a catfish. Oh, God. That one's got porn in it, so I can't actually put that up on the screen in full. Let's see here. I can cut it out because I'm certainly not going to put porn on the stream. That's a great way to get a strike. Wern lady off of there. Get Lucas's head wound actually saved. Get out of my way. And then we'll pull up one of these. And these are old. These are Facebook messages from, I want to say 2015. I could be wrong on that one. There's a lot of people that are way more familiar with Lucas Lucas on Facebook than I am. Let's see if this wants to come up. Oh, sure, you bring that one up. This thing is just taking its like sweet time to actually adjust anything tonight. We're going to be blank. Okay. Here we go. So this is a real thing that he sent to a woman. Oh yeah, all of his girls look suspiciously young. Oh, I remember the groin fruit comment. That was nasty. I'm not even going to read this. I'm just going to let y'all read this. I don't want to say these words. Except that he misspelled ass cheeks, which is kind of funny to me. Like moose full rut. Apparently he did. Yeah, just opened right up with that. Why would he want to get a morning after pill? I thought he wanted to have kids. Oh god, that's so disgusting. It's so nasty. Oh, here's the one. Yeah, I was hoping I was sort of misremembering it, and definitely was not. Definitely was not. Let's get this one away. Yeah, this is not going to be great. This is not going to be great. This is the one that'll make you just like never want to eat ice cream again. So this is what he sent. Cool, whatever. Just go ahead and read that. I'll wait. Just let that burn itself into your skull. And then tell me if you ever want to eat ice cream again. I bet the floor wherever he was listing was just nasty. Like that's a really weirdly specific way to eat anything, but like why would you try to eat an entire bowl of like soft serve ice cream without a spoon? That's just stupid. He was correcting himself. He left the word eat out of the first attempt. He clearly isn't very good at eating ice cream either if he's doing it that way. I mean, like this, I don't even have the correct parts to dry up, but this made like every part of my body just dry up and retract. This was horrible. This is like one of the worst. And he thought this was sexy. So yeah, this is the one that always just gets burned into my mind. And whenever people bring up like DMs that he sent where he's trying to flirt, my mind goes to the fucking soft serve ice cream. Lucas could desiccate the soft serve ice cream. But yeah, these are all like right on page 1 of the Kiwi Farms thread. Like the first post. Oh, apparently I'm getting tired. But yeah, this is from like the first post. He bitches about his dating profiles being banned. He used to stay at a place called the Artisan Well in Olympia. This was 2014. There's free food. And he was billing himself as the broke atheist at that point. He's got that stupid math equation in it. But yeah, the first few pages of that Kiwi Farms thread, if you're new to Lucas, they're worth reading because there's a lot of screenshots of like just bizarre shit that he's posted to Facebook. Like there's creep shots of him taking pictures of just like random young women at a cafe that he happens to be at. You know what? I'm going to end on Lucas being a little anti-Semitic tonight. That seems like a fun place to end. So we'll get the eat your pussy like a bowl of soft serve ice cream without a spoon out of the way, because that's disgusting. And we're going to go with how Lucas feels about meds. Somebody in Germany got this one too. So this one was posted, and Lucas so far has, every time he's been on meds, it's only when it's been enforced, right? The bags of wine could be worse. But it was at a park. So there's free food. So I wonder if he was providing the free little snackies for people. So yeah, this one was his take on psych meds, and this was kind of after he'd been told he needed to be on psych meds, but before his first major psych break where he got institutionalized for a couple of years. So we got Adolf Hitler probably saw killing 7 million Jews as an art, as the psychiatrist sees drugging children as an art. I'm not going to go off a tangent about people who give like children lithium when they don't need it because they're just acting like children and their parents want them to calm down. But children deal with it. For one thing, mental health medication was developed by Nazis to keep soldiers in line. That is patently false. Like, you can literally Google that and find out that it's false. The first drug they had success with in order to inspire belligerence and a complete lack of ethical... So, he can't possibly know what the word belligerence means. Because if you're using a medication to keep your soldiers in line, the last thing you're going to want them to be is belligerent. That is an indication that they are not in line, that they are not listening to you, unless he meant inspire belligerence towards their targets. And a complete lack of ethical reasoning to maintain the allegiance to the Fuhrer. God, he spelled Fuhrer wrong, and I don't like that. Still in use today in the streets of America, methamphetamine, crystal meth. So methamphetamine actually does have a brand name that I would have to look up, but you can actually get a prescription for actual methamphetamine. It's typically used as like a last resort ADHD drug when things like Adderall or Vyvanse or the other amphetamine salt mixes don't work because it's the pure amphetamine salt and not a mix. And has a brand name that is used very specifically as a prescription weight loss drug. You can get a valid prescription for meth. Crystal meth is a completely different thing. The atomic structure of Adderall is similar. Well, yeah, it is similar. It's an amphetamine salt. It's a mix of different amphetamine salts. Of course, it's similar. They have slightly different side effects and they work in slightly different ways. And I know this because I've been on Adderall, I've been on Vyvanse, I have been on meth, the prescribed kind. But Adderall is the salt mix that works best on me. All three of them work, just to different degrees. But yeah, they're similar in the fact that they're a class of amphetamine salt. But Adderall is a much different mix than just straight up. But yeah, Adderall, I had to jump back from the XR because it just like fucked my sleep. I mean, my sleep schedule's fucked anyway. But having like 24-hour release Adderall, I just never got sleep. So I went back to the stuff that wears off after about 5 or 6 hours so I can just deal with it when I'm at work. But it is nice for the days that caffeine just doesn't quite do it. And it's also way cheaper than the XR stuff. I spelled Adderall wrong. The street value of meth is about $80,000 a kilo. The street value of antipsychotics is in the neighborhood of $3 million a kilo. I'd love to see the source on that. If psychology and psychiatry are more an art than science, why isn't the... Because nobody's claiming it's an art. That's a sarcastic comment that people make. And mainly the only reason is that a lot of understanding of how medications work, and there's much better understanding now for a lot of them as to what receptors they bind to, what they do. But in a lot of cases, there's no overt reason why a med that will, like Adderall, so Adderall, for example, why Adderall would work great on me, but if you give me Ritalin, which is another class of stimulant, which should in theory have the same effect because it's just another type of stimulant, and it's the stimulant thing in general that leashes an ADHD brain, Ritalin has no effect on me. I might as well be taking a sugar pill. But there's no real way to explain that. Like, there's not an easy receptor they can look for to say, oh, your receptors for this are fucked up, or something's burned out, or your wiring is weird, or you've got like this malformation. So a great deal of it, I would agree that a lot of it is trial and error. That's why a lot of times you have to go through several different types of meds before you find the combination that works for you. And that is super frustrating. So I definitely understand the frustration there, and it's especially frustrating when you have a disorder that makes it difficult to like live your life normally. But yeah, but he for a while was on a kick of comparing psychology and psychiatry in general to the practices of Nazi camp guards and Nazi camp doctors, which is far beyond hyperbole. And this one was from 2014, but this is not an old view of his. I remember having conversations about mental health with him in 2019 and 2020, where he still held the same views because we would talk about medication sometimes, um, and he would just like tell me to smoke pot, and I'm like, well, I can't because it's not legal in the state that I live in. um, I'll stick with the meds that I know work. Understand that it's frustrating. I had to go through two shrinks and like 5 or 6 different combinations of medication before figuring out which combination made my brain work when I needed it to work. But that doesn't mean it's junk science. It means it means it's just complicated. And Lucas kind of never really understood that. He would just keep comparing it to Nazis and how they're trying to like stomp you out and snuff you out. And I'm thinking in the back of my head the whole time, like, man, that is your unmedicated mental illness talking because it is, and that's really common in a lot of. It's really common in a lot of mental illness, especially mental illnesses that might come along with like rapid mood changes or hallucinations, like especially like auditory hallucinations. People will become convinced that going on meds will make their life worse. Um, that it's a conspiracy. That it's something that will turn them into a zombie or turn them into just something useless. And that's what mental illness does. I mean, when I don't stay on meds, and I don't take Adderall all the time because I do like to sleep sometimes, and most of the time at this point in my life, caffeine kicks in pretty well. But when you're on it and you think clearly, you get in that cycle that we had talked about on the other stream where you've got your meds, you're doing great, you're stable, and you start to think, well, I'm cured, I'm fixed. And yeah, and then you just spiral back in and out of that cycle over and over again, and it's really common. Lucas probably thinks you could measure DNA with a ruler or a tape measure, to make sure you get all those telomeres in there. I mean, they've got to be long enough to be at least, an inch, right? I mean, you should be able to just like see him floating around. I don't know what he thinks about DNA. Honestly, I don't think he's smart enough to have any useful thoughts on DNA. And it doesn't even matter, even if he was correct. And in the very, very abstract, he just picked it as the function of telomeres. But he has defective genes, and that's again like not me making fun of him. By his own alleged research, he has defective genes. He has mental illness, which is largely thought to be hereditary if it's not brought on by some kind of like traumatic brain injury, sort of deal or illness. In his case, looking at the way the rest of his family is, it's probably hereditary. He has glasses. And glasses, according to Lucas, mean that you have short eye telomeres, so you're genetically inferior where it comes to your eyesight. Lucas just doesn't wear his glasses. He was saying like some shit like if your foot health is good, you have good feet telomeres. We all know Lucas is into feet. Lucas's feet are rotting, so not very good. Not very good telomeres there. He's balding, so not very good telomeres there. He's diabetic, again, short telomeres. Um, I know he's mentioned having other like chronic health issues too, but more short telomeres, more short telomeres. Um, he writes himself out of his own fantasies, and I absolutely love that. Um, yeah, Lucas is a genetic cul-de-sac. That's it. I mean, he's just a genetic cul-de-sac. He's one of those people that if he were in like a breeding program for like a dog breeder, they would neuter him and maybe send him to a pet home, but most likely have him put down as behavioral euthanasia. Don't date a rich man, date a good man. Writing himself out again, yeah. Yeah, just. And I would like to say that I think he does it on purpose, but he doesn't. I don't He's got that cognitive dissonance again. He doesn't realize he's writing himself out of his own fantasies because in his fantasies, he's the good person. Yeah. He's just a genetic equivalent of a scrap of paper he found in the bin. There's nothing. He's a warning. He's a warning to everyone else, is what he is. Yeah, that's such a flex for a 17-year-old to say, "Oh, my parents are rich." Like, why aren't you rich? You're 42. Why aren't you rich? And you know the way that that comes off too is like not, "Hey, I come from a good family," but "Hey, I'm waiting for my parents to die." Okay, it's like I know what my parents' financials look like too because they showed me. Um, but I'm not sitting going around going, "Oh, my parents are multimillionaires." I'm like, yeah, that's their retirement money. And when they die, depending on how they die, who the fuck knows how much is going to be left? Because I don't know if they're going to have to go into a home at some point. I don't know if I'm going to have to try to sell that house. I don't know how they're splitting it up between my brother and his like 5 kids and me. I don't know how that's going to work. I could look. I know where their wills are, but I don't want to go snooping. Uh, yeah, just hang out with the Wern being poor and homeless for 20 years, and then you might get the elk kingdom with the state-owned herd on it. I will be very surprised if his parents will give him anything more than like a P.F. Chang's gift card again or something. But to Lucas, we leave all the shitty board games we never played. Probably games he gave them. But you know, if you date him for a year, he'll figure out how to fly you to Arizona so you can swim in his mom's condo pool, which is just what every 20-year-old girl dreams of, flying to an old lady's house to hang out in her pool. Yeah, maybe they'll give him a KFC bucket that's empty and just says no KFC for you at the bottom. Yeah, Lucas thinks he's going to get the land and the herd and all of that. No, he's definitely not. He doesn't even talk to those people anymore. But yeah, he's so the thing with Lucas and like actual suicide ideation is, and I don't think he's legitimately going to follow through with any of it, so I don't care. I don't talk about it. But for a while, one of his vague threats, I guess, was that if he didn't have a wife by the time I think it was 55, yeah, 55 was the cutoff age, that he would unalive himself. Um, so that's coming up in a little over 10 years, 12 years now. Um, I don't think he'll actually do it. He'll just keep raising the age cap. I actually don't think he's going to live till 55. His health is really bad. But yeah, he he got so mad about that. Everything that podcast was, the no KFC for you at the end was just great. And Lucas, for someone who used to make Seinfeld references all the time, I am pretty sure he missed the reference of the no KFC for you. I don't know how, but I'm sure he did. Yeah, I don't think he'll make it to 50. I don't think he'll make it to 45, honestly, given the way his health is going. I mean, his health is not good. I get the feeling he's like really gonna surprise us and like not. I don't want to say not in a good way, but also not in a bad way, but just in a what the fuck way. Like he's just gonna do something that would get a normal person killed or arrested or like socially shunned, and somehow he's gonna like walk away from it and leave everyone just going like, "How the fuck did you get bailed out this time?" Yeah, they tend to, but Lucas does have the foot issue, and that I mean those sorts of sores can turn septic really fast, and when they do, it's not always great. Yeah, don't get me. What time is it? I'm pulling a Lucas and on my glasses on. It's after 11. Um. No, I don't have that one. I'm pretty sure someone has that, or someone asked him about that. And I can't remember which podcast it was on, if it was Geek Room or if it was all I can think of is Lauren and his stupid mac and cheese story, and that's not the right mac and cheese story. His was about his brother never giving him mac and cheese. Yeah, it was on some podcast. Maybe it was Golden USB. I honestly don't remember which podcast it was on. But somebody did ask him about it, and he said that was disgusting, and that it never happened, and they're making it up because, of course, he did. But yeah, I'll be interested to see how much he fucks up his life in 10 years. I know that he didn't. He's not making any changes. He didn't buy any of that bullshit he was spewing last night. But shocker. But it is getting late here. It is past 11. I was going to try to go to bed at a reasonable, normal adult hour tonight. So yeah, he didn't change. He was trying to make people think he was changing. He's still the same old creepy pedophile, just drugged. Didn't change his thoughts, just changed how fast he can convey them. So yeah, it's getting like super late here, and I don't actually want to be up till midnight 1 in the morning again, so I'm going to cut this off here. And yeah, if you weren't here earlier, we went through the police body cam stuff and kind of had a laugh at Lucas clearly lying to a cop for 9 minutes. There is no actual sound in the beginning of the body cam footage. It clicks on a minute or two in. But yeah, if you haven't seen the body cam footage, there's that. And I managed to get a real nice screenshot of the close-up of his non-existent head wound, so that's always fun. I'm going to go and just sleep now. So have a good night.